Our very special guest today, Melinda Clark, is the CEO of North Star Initiative. Melinda, good morning to you.
Good morning. It is so good to be with you.
So great. I understand that you helped a 1-year-old celebrate their first birthday, your grandson.
Yes,
Aww.
Jackson River in Atlanta turned
How
one
about
this
that?
weekend.
Congratulations for you, Grandma.
Thank
That's
you.
pretty great. Anybody you want to say hi to this morning?
Sure. Family, friends who are listening, as well as our fabulous team at North Star. I know a few of them are up and getting ready to go into the hard and holy work that we're doing today, and just super grateful for them.
You guys work every day to do what you do. Tell us what North Star Initiative is all about.
North Star is an anti-trafficking organization operating here in Lancaster County as well as in Berks County. And one of the things that sets us apart as a nonprofit is that we do, as you said, work 365 days a year, serving survivors, empowering them to reclaim the lives that they are created to enjoy by providing them with safe care in a restoration program at 2 homes that we operate in Lancaster and in Reading.
And you have a great story about how God has worked through North Star.
I could tell you stories all day long,
I'm sure.
But recently one of the things that the community helped fund last year was to help us open an emergency shelter. In addition to the 12-month program that we run, we also have an emergency placement that we specifically use in conjunction with the task force here in Lancaster County, so that on a sting, if they encounter a victim who's willing to leave in that very moment, looking for an opportunity to walk away from that life, there is somewhere safe for her to go. And last week we had a call from the task force. They were operating a sting here in Lancaster County, and they had encountered an 18-year-old, a Spanish speaker, who would not cooperate and wouldn't open up, and they felt like they had gone as far as they might be able to go. But I am an interpreter, was able to show up, and in speaking to her, discovered that her family, and this would be a very common story for a lot of women who are lured into trafficking, desperate financial position for her family. A friend offered her a number, said they'll give you work. She knew what the work was, but she thought she could do it as kind of a gig for a couple of weeks, get through it. They had her buy a ticket from Georgia here to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to be at a hotel and provide services for a week. And she was under the impression that she could go home a couple weeks later, but she did not have a ticket to go home. And so as we talked that night and we just said, what do you want to do next? The choices are yours. And she said, if I had a place to go, I would leave here. And I said, we can do that because this community has made that happen. There's a safe place for you to go where we can take care of you for tonight, and tomorrow morning we can do whatever you need to do next. And she said, I just want to go home to my mom. So because, again, of community support, North Star was able to buy that ticket. We already followed up with our colleagues from the task force this week to make sure she's home and safe, and she is celebrating her birthday with her family this week because of the work that we are able to do to release women from situations that God never intended them to be in.
I love that. That's a great story. If folks want more information about North Star Initiative, they can visit you online.
www.northstarinitiative.org.
You also have some events coming up. Tell us those.
Yes, briefly, we have an awareness walk in Reading coming up this Saturday, and that is to walk and draw attention to the reality that trafficking is happening here. We believe we can end it. Next week, the 13th, we have a flower arranging workshop, just a very low-key moment of beauty in the day to come together and create beauty in a space that's usually very dark as we think about trafficking. And then we have our annual fundraiser coming up in Lancaster on October 9th and in Reading on November 6th. And that is the day of the year when we get together as an entire community to say, together we can make this end. We can be a community that is trafficking proof.
Coming up, we'll talk more about that. In the meantime, NorthStarInitiative.org is the place you want to check out. This morning, our friend Melinda Clark hanging out with us. Melinda, the CEO of North Star Initiative. Melinda, good morning again.
Good morning.
Tell us all about North Star Initiative.
North Star Initiative is an anti-trafficking organization that's been operating here in Lancaster County since 2010. Started as a grassroots effort from a local woman who recognized that something happening in her neighborhood was actually trafficking and got involved. From that, realizing it's not enough to just open a door and tell someone you can walk away without having the restorative services that she needs. And so North Star since 2017 has been operating the only restoration home in a several county area for women who have experienced the crime of trafficking and all the trauma and pain and wounding that goes with that. So our mission is that, motivated by the love of Jesus, we work to end trafficking, because I believe that we can be a community that is trafficking proof. We don't have to endure this crime to continue happening. So we work to end trafficking and to empower survivors to reclaim the lives that they are created to enjoy through healing their whole person. We do that, as I said, in this 12-month restoration program in 2 homes, one in Reading, one in Lancaster area. And we work with survivors every day who are coming with beautiful, complicated, hard, painful stories, and who have their own dreams of how they want to move forward in life, but have found themselves continually hindered by a story that they didn't ask to carry. So our staff comes around them 24/7, 365 days a year. Our mission is, our work is hard. It is holy. It is the good work of helping others to encounter healing, sometimes for the first time, to experience their worth and dignity and value, sometimes for the first time, and to develop the skills that they will need to be able to flourish long term, to experience. We're not just interested in the short term, okay, you got this, let's go, but long term sustainability as they re-enter the community. One of the things that we launched last year was a new social enterprise, Florissant Collective, which provides survivors in the homes with recurring, consistent workplace experiences, workforce experiences in the safest place to fail and to thrive.
Yeah.
So they get to experience clocking in for a shift to do mundane things. We've all done that, usually in our teens, right? The McDonald's shift or the farm shift. This isn't fun. It's not interesting, but it's part of developing that grit that allows you to really thrive in a workforce environment like this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Ultimately. So we have that through Florissant Collective, where they're making home products, including, let me give you an example. Most of the products so far have been wax sachets, wax melts, but recently they started working on making dried flower bouquets. They're available for sale at Prussian Street in Mannheim. And it was a new product. It was not quite as predictable. It wasn't pour this, dry this, just follow the instructions and you're fine. They had to bring some of their own. They had to make some decisions on how these bouquets would look. And most of the survivors did not prefer the experience. This felt really vulnerable.
Yeah.
It felt like I could fail. This could be wrong.
Wow.
But when all of those went to the market, they were the thing that sold the most over the weekend. And the social enterprise coordinator was able to come back to the next work shift and say, you know what people wanted? They wanted what you designed and what you created. And it was such a beautiful moment for them to see, I have something that I can contribute, that the beauty that I made, the thing that I put together is what other people want to have in their own homes. And it was just a really redemptive, beautiful moment.
Why is this area so important? Lancaster, Reading, Central PA?
I think trafficking, it's important to recognize that trafficking can occur in any community because trafficking is everywhere. One of the things that we do is awareness and education to help people understand what trafficking is, how it happens. We've done over 85 presentations this year to help our communities know what it is and how to prevent it, to get ahead of it before it happens. But we both have vulnerable people targeted here by traffickers. Traffickers look for a vulnerability where a need exists already for housing, food, or human connection, and they exploit that vulnerability to lure somebody into trafficking. It is also a pass-through. It is a destination. I talked in the earlier segment about a young woman who was brought here to be exploited because it is a place where people were willing to pay for that kind of service from her. So it is a destination and a pass-through because of the highways. So one of the great things we do is we work with the task forces in Lancaster and Berks is to make it too painful to pay for those services in these communities, that we are not communities that are willing to let people be exploited that way.
Right.
And we may be driving it out elsewhere, but we are sending the message that this is not a place where we're willing to let people be exploited. So It does happen here. I sometimes get that question, like, surely not. I don't know anybody that's been trafficked. I'm glad if that's the case, but it is happening here both to young people who are being lured into what they think are romantic relationships, and it's actually a trafficker posing. It is happening to people who are vulnerable and looking for needs to be met, and people are being brought here to be sold for services because they think that there's a market that they can tap into.
If folks want to support what you're doing or find out more, you have some events coming up.
Yes, and we would love to see so much of the community show up and just max out these events because, again, we know that the more people that are willing to face this with us, to understand the facts of the darkness, we can shine the light, and the light will always shine brighter. We can eradicate this. So join us. In Reading this weekend, we have a walk for awareness. Next weekend, there's a flower arranging workshop, very limited seating. But the big events we have this fall that we really want to see people come out and just fill every seat are happening here at the Star Barn on October 9th, and in Reading at the Abraham Lincoln on November 6th. And that is our one major fundraiser for the year. What we do all year, face-to-face with survivors, providing them with therapy, with life skills, with medical needs being met, with physical needs being met. It happens through the gathering of the community at those events to come together and say, we believe that healing is possible. We believe that we can end trafficking, and we're going to get together and do that.
Do folks need tickets for any of these events?
Absolutely. Please register. You can get those tickets online at our website, www.northstarinitiative.org. This year in Lancaster, we're offering a morning event, so it starts earlier. It's briefer, so if your schedule doesn't allow you to come out to the full gala in the evening, we have options. This year, we'd love to see
That's
both
cool.
those
What a
events
great idea.
filled up, and then the bigger event in the evening with a silent auction.
Coming up in Lancaster County, October 9th, then in Berks, November 6th. Check it out online, northstarinitiative.org. Melinda, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We loved having you.